Now then, are we optimizing the right thing? Okay, because there are two types of connectors generally used by radio amateurs. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's BNCs and SMA and everything else, but I am talking about what looks like an N-type, which has a funny little pin in the middle, versus a PL259. That looks like a PL259, right? That is cheap as chips. These old style PL259s are 10 for $1. Not quite, but you know what I mean. Because periodically I get people, every time I talk about connectors, they come on the channel, they go, yeah, but PL259s aren't waterproof. I think you're living in the dark ages. You're probably thinking that we're looking at these, all right? I'll show you the GoPro. That honestly is awful connector, right? It really is. Because I don't know when, but certainly within 5 years of me entering this hobby, I discovered that people were doing what looked like an N-type, but was actually a PL259. So this is a Messi and Poloni Evolution PL259. Look at the size of that compared to this little PL259, right? Both are PL259s. Which do you think might be better? And do you think that might be waterproof? Because it is. Because inside what we've got is, you know, the same business as you've got with N-types, with, you know, a rubber squashy boot, the whole 9 yards. The only difference between a modern N-type, a high-quality modern N-type, and a PL259 is that instead of having a 4mm banana jack, right, which is a high surface area, you've got this little pin with a surround. Now, I happen to know, because I've got one knocking around here, might be this. It's not. Oh, here it is. So this happens to be, that is an SSB Electronics 15mm. Let me look at the hole in that. 15mm PL259. But you could buy that as an N-type, and the only difference is the insert changes. All right, so you've got all the same waterproofing, the same rubber grommet, the whole 9 yards. But you might think, yes, Callum, but an N-type's got less loss. Okay, so let's just talk about this, because as I was saying, are we optimizing the wrong thing? Right? If you are living in the dark ages and you believe that most PL259s look like that these days, you're wrong. Because most people are buying PL259s, at least, that look as good as this, right? That's another Messi and Poloni 10mm coax. Now, Jim W6LG, bless his cotton socks, went silent key on me last year. In fact, I got a bit teary the other night because I was watching... I had one of those Zoom calls with Jim. We published it. I published mine on my channel and his on his channel, and we were talking about loss and coax connectors. Now, that's a bit of an overboard, a bunch of connectors. I don't know why I bought 20 of these or something, but Jim did an experiment. He got, it must have been this long, 20 inches. Well, certainly 20 connectors, females, males, joiners and everything else. No coax, just all the screw-ons, right? He had N-types about that long, and the same length he had PL259s. And I think he was surprised because he plugged it into all his fancy gear, and what he wanted to measure is effectively all the different impedance bumps were going to give him some loss, okay? In English, that's what was happening. So he was interested in the loss, the difference between the PL259 and the N-type. He measured on the N-type, he got on this amount of connectors, 0.01 dB loss on 30 megahertz. You think, oh, fine. Now I was interested in the enormous amount of losses that he was going to start measuring on the PL259. It was 0.035. Why are we optimizing and even considering going down an N-type connector on 20 of them to gain 0.025 dB gain? It's pointless. We're optimizing completely the wrong thing. What we need to be doing is improving our coax, putting a better ground down, making our tower higher, or whatever else. The last thing you want to be worried about on HF is going down an N-type route. Now, there was a famous, I can't remember who it was. In fact, James, if you're watching this, let me know. But it was one of the big US contest stations who had fallen into the N-type trap, right? It had gone down N-types. But they had more connector problems than they've ever had before and went back to PL259s. That sounds like 2 engineers for a month and about $1,000. You know what I mean? So I am not worried about going down the N-type route. Now, you might think, yes, but I'm into VHF. Be warned, because very high quality PL259s will still very often beat by a substantial margin, I can only use the word crappy, but a crappy N-type, right? If you are going to buy an N-type, buy a warranted manufacturer, right? Andrews, Messi and Poloni, SSB Electronics, something that looks and feels right, okay? And that with a proper PTFE insert and everything else. So you get, it's effectively lossless, right? If you're going to buy it from, Joe Soap Alibaba, you don't know what you're getting. So, and I'll try and dig out this film. Or maybe you can find it. But Jim also did that experiment, W6LG. And it'll be on his channel. He's done so many blooming videos, I couldn't find it, where he took a very high quality PL259 and an unknown quality of N-type. And on VHF and UHF, the PL259 was beating it, okay? So let's not stress. Get in the new age, right? Don't think that all PL259s need to even listen to it, right? I don't know, it's some sort of alloy that's been plated, right? Whether this stuff, that's going to be brass, and I don't know, stainless, whatever. The weight, you just know you're getting what your money, all right? It looks right, it feels right, all the threads work, everything's slippy and smooth. We need to optimize the right thing, guys, okay? Let's get off the N-type bandwagon and move into higher quality coax, get into your better antennas, and improve your shack, your switching, and anything else. The last thing we need to be worried about is the N-type versus PL259 debate. With that, I will leave you be. Enjoy your radio. I'll see you next time. All right? All the best now. Bye for now.